Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the best and the very worst eyeshadow palettes out there. I know that it can be very daunting, when you go into Sephora or Mecca or wherever you are shopping and you're like, oh my god, there's so many eyeshadow palettes. I don't know which ones are good, which ones aren't good. So in today's video, we're going to cut through all of that and I'm going to help a sister out. So I'm going to go through my favorite palettes first. I think I've got 8 of my all-time most used, holy grail, most loved, marry me eyeshadow palettes, and then I've got my worst eyeshadow palettes. Now the palettes that I don't love, they're not necessarily like really poor quality or really awful eyeshadow palettes. They're just palettes that I have purchased that pretty well sit right at the back of my makeup collection and I never reach for. I think that's enough rambling. Without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. So first up here, I have got my all-time favorite out of all favorite eyeshadow palettes, and this one's a bit of a surprise to me because it's kind of a newish introduction to my collection. Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. I am head over heels in love with this, head over heels. Now I do have the Too Faced, all the chocolate bars, all their little mini choc chip palettes, like I've got all of that. The Sweet Peach palette by far is my most used and reached for palette. I absolutely love the shades in this palette. There are warm tones, there are cool tones, there are mattes, there's blending shades, there's darker shades for in the crease, there are purples, there are oranges, pinks. Like seriously, this palette has got pretty well everything that I can need. I find myself reaching for this when I travel. I find myself reaching for this when I'm working with brides and clients, and honestly, if you don't have it, you have to get it. I just think that it is one of the best palettes ever out there. Next up, I've got the original Urban Decay Naked palette, and you can see by how banged up this is, it has been very, very well loved. This has traveled with me all around the world. I, again, find this palette really easy, for every single skin tone, every single hair color. You will find something for you in this palette. They're very easy to blend. They're not chalky or patchy. The glittery shades pack quite a punch, and the mattes blend really, really well. This is my favorite of all of the Urban Decay palettes, all of the Urban Decay Naked palettes. I by far think that the original Naked palette is the best. Next up, I've got this one by Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the Master palette by Mario. So they collaborated with Makeup by Mario, and this palette, oh my god, it is everything. It is warm tone, absolute heaven. It blends so easily. Like I feel like you can pick these up on a brush and you just like chunk. Like your crease is perfect. There is no choppiness, there's no chunkiness, there's no patchiness. These shadows are really, really beautiful. Again, I love that there are warm tones and there's a mixture of finishes, shimmers and mattes. These three here through the crease are like literally everything you can imagine. And then there are some fun pops of color. I don't mind a pop of color in an eyeshadow palette because it makes it a little bit more versatile. I think this one is also a must-have. Next up, I've got the Lorac Pro palette. Now, this is the original palette. They did bring out a bunch of other ones, and we may or may not be talking about them in the worst eyeshadow palette section. There's a little spoiler. I really love the setup of these palettes. So they've all got matte shades right across the top here and then shimmer shades along the bottom. I like this one again. It's very well balanced, very well rounded. There are mixtures of warm tones, cool tones, shimmers, mattes. There's little pops of colors here with the copper, the purple and the blue. I have flogged this palette to death. Like honestly, I've used this so much. It is an absolute staple in my professional kit, and I don't know, it's just really easy to work with, really easy to blend, really good eyeshadow palette. If you are a warm tone eyeshadow lover, then you are going to love the Modern Renaissance palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills. Again, I find myself reaching for this palette all the time. Daytime looks, nighttime looks, like it honestly doesn't matter. Now, this one isn't as universal as some of the other palettes that I've mentioned because they are all warm tones. There are definitely not that many palettes out there on the market that you're going to find a magenta, an orange, and a pink. Seriously, not that many, and these colors through the crease are to die. You could do like a slate grey smoky eye. If you work this orange one a little bit above that slate grey eyeshadow just to blend out the edges, it completely transforms it. Now, as with all of the other Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadow palettes, creamy, velvety shadows. There's no texture in blending. There's no choppiness, cakiness, chalkiness, or anything. Gorgeous colors, very pigmented. You will not be disappointed. This is another one for those of you who are obsessed with warm tone shadows. This is the Morphe 35O palette. Crazy affordable. I think this retails for around $20. You get all 35 colors, beautifully pigmented, like honestly, like these palettes are too much. There's a look at some of the pigments in it. They're so beautiful. One downside of this one is I can't travel with it. It's just way too big and flimsy because it's, you know, quite an expensive packaging. But the actual shadows and the color range and selection is perfect. Next up, the Stealer in the Light palette. Again, this one is so, like, look at it. It is beat up. I have just used this so much. I think this may have been one of the first higher end eyeshadow palettes that I ever owned. Like, this is years old. And I just really love the color selection in this. I find that it's very easy to do natural everyday looks. It's easy to do like really sort of stark smoky eye looks with it. The colors are beautiful. This color here, Sunset, I wish that I had it in a huge blush pan. I will pack a palette and then I will pack this palette just to use this color through the crease. It is so amazing for blending. It's the most perfect sort of, it's kind of like a burnt rose gold color. Oh, I love this palette so much. And if you're going to get any of the Stealer palettes, I would get the In the Light one because it is by far the best. And then lastly and very quickly, I really wanted to mention the Lorac Unzipped palette. Lorac obviously makes a lot of palettes, but this is actually the second one of these that I've owned. I went through the first one in about 2 months. I used it every single day. I loved it so much. It's not very universal in terms of shade ranges and things like that, but the colors in this, the pigmentation, the blendability, oh, and these are like liquid molten. Like, they are so pigmented. It is crazy. I'll show you. There is something really special about the formula in these unzipped palettes. I do also have the unzipped gold, but it doesn't make the cut because I find that I reach for this one so much more. So yeah, if you're sort of into more pinky tones, definitely get this one. You will use it so much. Okay, moving on to the palettes that I don't like / never reach for / never use / worst palettes. Urban Decay Naked 2. Now, I know that there are a lot of people who love this, but I honestly just never use it. It's nothing against the brand. It's nothing against the formulas. The formulas are beautiful. They blend well. I just never use it. I never use these colors. I find that it's all just grey, very monotone. Just don't like it. Next up, the Kylie Bronze palette. I did a whole review video on this one. Some people might not agree with me, but I just think this is really crappy quality. The shadows are patchy, they're not pigmented, they fall out everywhere, there's no color payoff. Colors are nice, really like the color palette, but didn't like the eyeshadow formula, so. Next up, I've got this Kat Von D palette, and I'm just looking at it now, and I can't actually find a name for it. It's the one with the butterfly on the front though. Nothing against the shadows. These are actually really beautiful, pigmented, buttery, gorgeous to blend eyeshadows. I just never reach for this palette because of the shade selection. I like this one, but what am I going to do with the rest of them? Next up, I've got the Lorac Pro 2 palette. What is this color selection? Like, what? I love this navy blue, but, you know, green, purple, navy. There's like a straight up matte grey. There's like, you know, weird pinky colors. I get the concept, I do, but because of the shade selection, I just never find myself reaching for it. Shadows are really nice, like good quality eyeshadows, but I don't know. Next up, I've got these two ones from Smashbox, so the full exposure palette and the double exposure palette. I tried so hard to love these, I honestly did. I was so excited when I purchased them and they came in the mail and I was like, oh, this is exciting. But honestly, you guys, pigmentation of these shadows is not great. This row across the top is all shimmers and then this row across the bottom is all mattes. I just found them to be patchy and chalky, and I couldn't get them to do what I wanted them to do. And these like shimmer shades up here, like look, there's no payoff. I don't know. I would expect, you know, a really rich metallic foiled finish from looking at them in the pan, but you just don't get that at all. And it was the same with the double exposure palette. A cool concept. So these are wet to dry eyeshadows, so you can use them wet or dry. I don't know. I never use it basically. I think when I did use it, I found it to be a bit patchy, a bit hard to work with. I do actually quite like the color selection in this palette because you got your warms melting into your cools, but I don't think it's worth picking up. I don't think it's a must-have in your collection. So that is it for my best and worst eyeshadow palettes today, guys. I hope you found this video very helpful. If you've got any questions about any of the palettes that I've mentioned, please leave them in the comment section down below, or, you know, share your thoughts with me. If I adore palettes that you hate, or if I don't like palettes that you love, let me know. I hope you're all having a great day, and I will talk to you guys very soon. Bye!